guy is moving out, and time now is 7:10, March 27th, and I double checked yesterday, and the sunrise is at 7:11 over here. And in Pennsylvania, they don't give you like half an hour before and after, they only give you sunrise to sunset. And also I was double checking again the manual yesterday. Probably I should switch on my clearance lights. It's still kind of like weird weather, and it's raining, and it's well, +3, so I don't know, 35 amp. And so yeah, I was reading the engine manual for the comments, and turns out that boosted, that's fine. It basically stays low because it's run by the computer, mostly for EGR. It depends on, because it's hooked up to the EGR valve, you know. And it's not like on my old International, where I could have like, I don't know, 50-60 psi after I did the tuning. Like, those were the days, you know. I mentioned this before, like Caterpillar have a dyno tune option. It was at the time $800 Canadian, and they spend whole day with your truck. Go. Here's the guy. You see, that's what dangerous. The guy is looking to his right and he's moving, you know. Like, why would you do something like this? Always look in the direction of travel, people. Comes in handy sometimes. Oh, I see one guy. Kenworth. Going up a hill with 8 axles.
200 meters, merge onto I-90 West.
And so yeah, they dyno tuned my Cat, and that thing, the guy showed me the printout. I had 550 horse, but the guy moved it to like, he says, what do you want? I said, well, give me all the power at the low RPM, so when I climb a hill with a big load, I have it. And so he moved everything. You know, those guys, they're like wizards, you know, and because they have this dyno, you know, shop, they run your truck in there, make sure it doesn't overheat, you know, not too much power, so they test it. Like, they have the truck for 8 hours. And so he showed me the graph, and it shows that I had 550 horse at only like 1400 RPM, you know, instead of 1800. And then he shows me my torque.
In 150 meters, turn right onto Pennsylvania 531 South.
And the torque was, I remember, I think it was like 2200, you know. And I said, are you sure? Because yeah, I like torque, but I don't want to break my transmission or something. Oh, don't worry about it. And so that truck, to me, that's the yardstick, you know, that I go by. And of course, all these modern engines, they're not like that. Even though my my Cat was the first emissions Cat, because it was a 2004 truck, so we already had the 2003 A cert, right? It had like very small amount of EGR, you know, but still gave me trouble. I still had to replace what was that? One thing was always going bad. Oh, actuators.
Take the next right onto Pennsylvania.
Actuators, and the guys were laughing. I said, why do I have to replace them? I replaced like 5, and he says, well, until you replace all 6, you'll have to do it, you know. He says it's just a weak spot. So basically, I wish I could have bought a truck which was like 2003, you know, back then, instead of 2004, because then they would give you a real Cat without the A cert, you know, without the emissions. And of course, that would be like a monstrous truck, you know. Well, this guy is letting us go.
Turn right onto the I-90 West ramp to your
But so yeah, so there's nothing wrong with this engine, you know. It just needs some time. But also, yeah, the boost, that's normal. The boost stays low. And fuel economy, yeah, and plus I'm heavy, right? I used to be 49 with this trailer, now I'm 53. But we'll see what happens at the first. I'm gonna do first service, like small service for the new way suspension at 5,000 miles. I have to take it to a shop and let them retighten, retorque all the bolts in the new way suspension. And then at 15,000 miles, we're gonna do first service. Which is not oil change, it's just something that needs to be done on the truck. There's a whole bunch of, like a big section in the book about this. One of them is axle alignment, you know, change the oil in the differentials. It's kind of like the first truck, brand new truck required service. And I don't know if you can see that, but those dots there, so the top one is at 1400 RPM for fuel economy. And the bottom one looks like it's at 1300. So that's what they give you. They give you this 100 RPM. Oh, and also my observation that I learned from all these trucks, like I didn't drive that many brands, right? I only had Volvo, Freightliner, that's with Challenger Motor Freight when I was a company driver. Then I had my International with the Cat, and then I had the Mac with the MP8, and now I have Cummins in a Kenworth. And what I found is that an interesting observation, when you upshift, see, like now it's 1500. When you upshift, you have to reach a certain RPM, because then you lose, let's say in an 18-speed transmission, you lose 200 RPM. And what's interesting is that I find that that magic RPM to which you have to accelerate, it's usually somewhere around there that the engine likes to, you know, to cruise. So in the Cat, it was around 1350. Like with a super heavy load, I would have to accelerate to 1400 before I, you know, upshift, go to the next gear. But 1350 was enough in like 8 out of 10 cases. Okay, I'm shifting at, like, again, the manual yesterday, Cummins confirmed that, yeah, they wanted to lock this engine, but not past 1150, because my maximum torque is at 1150. But you see, like, I'm 93,000 pounds. I'm climbing a very, I don't know, medium-sized hill, and this thing already loses RPM. But again, it's not. It's always software, you know, like the way they program these engines. And of course, their main two concerns, they're not concerned about the driver, about the driver being happy. It's about number one, meeting federal fuel economy requirements, and number two, EGR and emissions cleaning. That's the most important thing, because that they have to do that by law, right? And so it's very hard to see past these two things into like the real nature. But you know, from what I've read and heard, yeah, you see now it's 1280, I'm an 8 low, 1270, 1260, 1250, 1240. 1220, and at 1220 we are doing, I don't know, 72 kilometers per hour, so 46 miles per hour. Okay, finally it starts climbing. Now let's see what the lowest dot is, just to confirm. Oh, actually it's even lower. The lowest dot is like 1270. So that's where they want you for best fuel economy, you know. And now we're coming to the top dot, which is, yeah, 1400. So I think then it makes sense that 1400, because it's the top RPM at which you're still supposed to have fuel economy. Then for me, with heavy loads, that I think that's what makes sense. And so yeah, so when you downshift, Cummins says hold on till you reach your peak torque RPM based on your like the plate, you know. And I know I took a picture. I know my serial plate on the engine, it says 2050 torque at 1150 RPM. And so that's what they wanted to do. When you don't upshift, I mean don't downshift. Like, why are you driving fucking 45 miles per hour? And I could see the head is turned and she's looking at the phone, you know? Like stupid people. But the exhaust brake on this thing, I love it. It's so convenient. I can activate it with a flip of my finger over here on the right. And it has so many positions. And it shows me a dot under that green little icon of a cylinder. So this is position 1, position 2, position 3. Yeah, I got 3 positions. Oh, and one more thing I learned yesterday, I found a graph, like the torque for horsepower and torque. I found the graph, yeah, you know. And it was for 2017 X15, which is the same. And my engine, you know, there's 2 flavors, efficiency and performance. And mine is X15 performance, where the design is different, like the turbo is different, the compression ratio is different than in the efficiency series. Like this engine is designed for power. So I believe it should wake up one day. But one thing I learned from those graphs is that, like the torque, and I posted them on my Facebook page, but basically the torque, as soon as you reach 1150, you have 2050 pounds of torque, and it stays flat all the way to 1500. So that's your fuel economy. Anywhere between 1150 and 1500, that will be the best fuel economy in this truck. But the horsepower is very slow to pick up. It goes like at a 45-degree angle. And I noticed that it reaches 550 horsepower at 1400 RPM. Okay, and then at 1500, I think it's around like 575. And it reaches the maximum 605, I think at around 1600. And so again, 1400, you know, that's the top band of fuel economy. And also you get 550 horse. So I think that's the magic number for this engine, you know. So 1400 RPM, you got 2050 pounds of torque, and you have 550 horsepower, you know. And that's what I'm trying to drive at today. All right, so this just complements my yesterday's video. I don't know, I just was too fast to complain, you know, so I apologize for some negative okay, 1400 RPM, cruise is set, and we are at, oh wait a second, it's going down now, but basically at 1400 I'm supposed to be 97 kilometers per hour, or 60 miles per hour. Yeah, because now it's 1380, 96. And the needle on the RPM is still touching the green dot. It's almost off, but it's still in that fuel efficiency band, so we're still good. But yeah, it definitely, when your RPM are too low, it definitely just dies, you know, faster. Like, it needs power. Like, I'm not that light, even though it's a light load for me, but you know, still 93,000 pounds gross. That's 13,000 pounds over, you know, legal limit, because I have a permit, right? I see 1180 and it holds, so I'm not downshifting. So anyway, so this is just some additional feedback, like addendum to the yesterday's video about my first impression. So now you see, because yesterday my GoPro was not charged, so I just wanted to show you guys this, how the truck climbs hills, and give you some of my thoughts on torque and horsepower and stuff like that. So so I'm gonna be at the consignee around 10 o'clock today, because it's still 300 kilometers, 180 miles, and then I did not find a load yet. I don't know yet what I'm gonna do, whether I'm going to go empty to Alabama to pick up that flip box. But I talked to the Fontaine dealer who sold me that thing, and he says if you need to do another run, it can wait, because right now, you know, I'm kind of like short on cash after sitting so long, you know, without work. And so now maybe I'll do another run back to Canada and then come back to Alabama. So we'll see. I'm gonna, once I deliver this load, I'm gonna go to a truck stop and check out my load board, see what's available. And I'm just passing Erie, Pennsylvania on I-90 West, just taking the next exit, which is I-79 South. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, stay warm. To be continued. Well, I thought the video was over, but it's not over, because it looks like I got a chance to unload this. And actually, I forgot one more thing. Which is the way the machine sits now. It can only go straight because of this. All right. And actually sometimes I leave it like that, because this way you know that you don't have to touch the steering. Okay, I think this is the bucket. Yeah, reverse, forward. All right. 2008 John Deere represent. Okay, parking brake is on. Parking is here. Now what's funny is that, oh, that's where the pedal was. Okay. Помнят руки-то, помнят! Alright, so where do we park this thing? That's my truck over there. Look at this heavy duty greasing system. All right. Can I park it over there? Can I park it over there? Now the worst thing you can do on unloading is by accident go back on the trailer. I definitely don't want to see this ugly machine back on my trailer. Brake is on. The load is delivered. Now this is the end. Thanks for watching.